Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, pulling back the covers, and realizing that your mind is completely, utterly blank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like you have absolutely no words. You stretch your arms, you feel the chill of the air on your skin, your stomach rumbles, but you literally do not possess the vocabulary to explain that you are tired or cold or, hungry.
Right. You're trapped.
Exactly. You're a fully functional adult, but linguistically, you have been reset to zero. So how do you survive the next 24 hours? How do you move through a world of transit systems, corporate offices, and social interactions when you are trapped behind this wall of silence?
It's an incredibly vulnerable psychological state.
Totally. And that intense, almost claustrophobic feeling of being a pure beginner is the universal starting line for anyone trying to acquire a new language.
It really is. And, when we attempt to master a new language, we often assume the process will be highly logical.
Right, like a math equation.
Yeah. Exactly. We think we're going to sit down with a pristine textbook, look at a chart, memorize that noun A goes with verb B, and eventually we will build a conversational house.
Yeah, but that's not how it works at all.
Not even close, because as anyone who has ever stood in a foreign grocery store just staring blankly at a cashier knows, life does not happen in grammar charts.
No, it happens in real time.
Right, life happens in motion. And when you are forced into motion without the words to describe it, the cognitive load is just staggering.
Which brings us to the fascinating challenge we are unpacking today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We're tearing into a stack of source material today that completely flips the script on how we absorb new information. It is a highly structured 3-part language learning curriculum from a program called Vibe English, hosted by a guy named Leo.
And it's a brilliant piece of material.
It really is. Now, the crucial piece of context for you, the listener, to hold on to here is the target audience. This material is Dugia TDOT. It is specifically meticulously designed for absolute beginners in English. But the methodology buried inside this curriculum is so profound, so mechanically brilliant, that whether you are trying to learn Spanish or master Python coding or figure out how to play the cello, there is absolute gold in how this framework is constructed.
Because it fundamentally changes the terrain of where learning actually happens.
How so?
Well, think about traditional beginner courses.
Sure.
They almost universally start with abstract, disconnected social pleasantries.
Like, hello, how are you?
Yeah, exactly. You learn how to say hello, or where's the library, or the apple is red. You are memorizing phrases for hypothetical scenarios that may or may not ever happen to you.
Right. You're imagining this phantom conversation with a phantom person in a library you have literally never visited.
Which is entirely disconnected from your physical reality.
Exactly. But the mission of our deep dive today is to deconstruct how this Vibe English curriculum operates differently. Instead of handing the beginner a list of isolated vocabulary words to memorize in a vacuum, this source material maps the English language directly onto a chronological, minute-by-minute day in the life.
It forces the learner to narrate their own immediate physical existence.
Yes, and we are looking at a masterclass in a concept called embodied cognition.
Right, which is just a fascinating psychological theory.
So for those who don't know, it's the theory that our minds are not just brains sitting in jars processing data, but that our cognition is deeply, inextricably linked to our physical bodies and how we interact with our environment.
Right. The premise here is that linking language to your physical daily routine isn't just a fun exercise. It is arguably the ultimate neurological shortcut to fluency.
And we are going to dig into exactly how that shortcut works. We will analyze the highly specific grammar choices the text makes, the sensory details it uses to hook your memory, and the intense repetition techniques it demands.
Because the repetition is key here.
Oh, absolutely. This curriculum uses a very strict, almost hypnotic formula. For every single action in the day, Leo gives the learner the core action, an example sentence that provides immediate context, and then a rigid, unyielding instruction to repeat 3x.
3 times, out loud.
Yes, 3 times out loud. Coupled with occasional targeted spelling drills.
It is highly methodical.
And rhythmic.
Yeah, rhythmic. And it begins at the exact moment human consciousness begins every single day, the moment the eyes open.
Right. The curriculum doesn't start with hello. It starts with the physical reality of waking up. The very first action the absolute beginner is tasked with learning is turn off the alarm.
A very jarring way to start the day.
Totally. And there's an immediate spelling drill attached to this ALARM. The example sentence provided is, I turn off the alarm as soon as I wake up. And then the instruction, repeat 3x.
And then they move right into the botto.
Yeah, next the learner moves to stretch my arms with the sentence, I stretch my arms to feel more energetic, repeat 3x. And finally, the third action of the morning is yawn.
With the accompanying sentence. I yawn because I am still a little sleepy.
Okay, I have to pause right here and play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If I am an absolute beginner, my mental bandwidth is precious. I have zero vocabulary. Why on earth is the curriculum teaching me the word yawn before teaching me good morning or my name is?
It does seem strange at first glance.
It feels like an incredibly odd, almost wasteful choice for a beginner's very first lesson. Like, how often do you really need to announce that you are yawning?
Right. On the surface, it seems entirely counterintuitive. But if we look at the underlying psychology of memory and social anxiety, it is actually a stroke of genius.
Okay, explain that.
Well, think about the pressure of learning a greeting like hello or how are you. Those words require another human being.
They require a social transaction.
Exactly. And for a beginner, social transactions in a new language are terrifying. You're worried about your accent. You're worried about their response. You are anticipating failure.
They're freezing up before you even open your mouth.
Exactly. But a yawn is involuntary. It is a biological reflex. By teaching yawn as one of the very first words, the curriculum completely bypasses the anxiety of abstract social conversation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it links the English language directly to a bodily reflex that the learner cannot control and experiences every single day. You don't have to imagine a conversation with a stranger to practice your English. You just have to exist in your own body.
So when you inevitably yawn tomorrow morning, your brain suddenly has a physical trigger connected to a brand new phonetic sound.
Right. It shifts the entire burden of practice. You aren't studying, you are just living, and the language is hitching a ride on your biology.
That is so smart. But looking at the example sentence for yawn, there is something else going on. I yawn because I am still a little sleepy.
What do you notice about that structure?
Well, it feels really heavy for a beginner. It's not just I yawn, it's giving a reason. Because.
Yes. The curriculum is introducing complex cause and effect grammar right out of the gate. I do X because of Y.
Which is a huge leap.
It is a massive cognitive leap. Often, beginners are trapped speaking in what sounds like caveman syntax. You know, me tired, me yawn.
Right. They can label things, but they cannot connect them.
Exactly. By handing them the word, because in the very first moments of the curriculum, you are empowering the beginner to explain their internal world immediately. You are connecting an involuntary physical action to an internal emotional or physical state.
You are giving them the tools for actual self-expression, not just a label for a bodily function.
Precisely.
And that brings us to the physical repetition. The instruction repeat 3x is stamped after every single sentence in this text. We see repetition in learning all the time, but why this rigid demand for 3 times?
There is deep neurological backing for the rule of 3 when it comes to memory encoding.
Really? Just 3?
Yeah. The brain is incredibly efficient, which means it is constantly trying to forget things it deems unimportant. When you encounter a new piece of information once, your brain registers it as a novelty. It's mere exposure. The second time you encounter it, the brain begins to recognize it, lightly carving a tiny neural pathway. But the third repetition is the threshold.
So the third time is the charm, literally.
Literally. The third time signals to the hippocampus that this pattern is recurring, relevant, and needs to be retained.
So it's like walking through a dense forest. The first time you walk a path, you just bend the tall grass. The second time, you snap a few twigs. But the third time you walk that exact same line, you actually start to clear the dirt. You create a visible trail.
That is a perfect way to visualize synaptic pathways. But the vital piece of this curriculum isn't just saying the words 3 times while sitting at a desk.
Oh, right. Because of the embodied cognition.
Exactly. The context implies that the learner is meant to say these phrases out loud while physically performing the actions in their own home.
So you are physically stretching your arms in your bedroom, feeling your muscles pull, and as you do it, you say out loud, I stretch my arms to feel more energetic. 3 times.
Yes. You are recruiting your motor cortex to help you learn English. When you physically stretch while speaking the phrase, the linguistic center of your brain, Broca's and Wernicke's areas, is firing at the exact same millisecond as the area of your brain controlling your physical movement.
So they get wired together.
The English word becomes fundamentally neurologically entangled with the kinetic sensation of stretching. This creates a much denser, more durable memory network than simply staring at a flashcard.
So the body remembers the word, even if the conscious mind forgets it for a second. That is wild.
It's incredibly effective.
Okay, so the learner is awake, they have stretched, they have turned off the ALARM, the feet hit the floor, and we move into the next phase of the morning, the transition from the bedroom to the washroom.
The routine begins to accelerate here.
It does. The actions Leo outlines here are universally familiar. Wash my face, with the example. I wash my face with cold water to wake up, then brush my teeth, and the sentence is, it is important to brush my teeth twice a day.
Standard morning stuff.
Right. Next is floss my teeth, with the example. I floss my teeth after brushing them. And finally, take a shower to feel fresh in the morning. All of these, again, repeated 3 times while doing the action.
Now, on a surface level, the learner is accumulating basic nouns, face, water, teeth, shower.
The bathroom essentials?
Right. But if we dig into the linguistic philosophy of these sentences, this washroom phase is doing incredibly heavy lifting regarding the concept of time.
Wait, time? How so?
Look at the modifiers embedded in the examples.
Yep.
Twice a day, after brushing.
Oh, I see.
The curriculum is covertly teaching temporal sequencing and frequency. One of the hardest things for an adult brain to map onto a new language is the flow of time. When do things happen in relation to other things?
Because without time markers, everything is just happening in an infinite, confusing present tense.
Yes. By learning I floss my teeth after brushing them, the beginner is acquiring the building blocks of narrative. They are learning how to describe the order of events in their reality.
That makes so much sense.
That syntactic structure doing action A after action B is essential for literally any future conversation they will ever have in English, whether they are recounting a weekend trip or explaining a timeline in a corporate meeting.
It is stealthy infrastructure. They think they're just learning bathroom vocabulary, but they are actually downloading the formula for chronological storytelling.
Exactly.
And another thing jumps out at me in this bathroom section. The text doesn't just say, I wash my face with water. It specifically says cold water.
Right.
And it doesn't just say, I take a shower. It adds that you do it to feel fresh. Why include these specific descriptors for a beginner? Like, why not keep it simple?
Well, think about your own experience at the bathroom sink in the morning. When you turn on the tap and splash water on your face, what is the most prominent neurological event happening in that moment?
It's the shock of the temperature. Like the cold water hits you, your pores tighten, your eyes widen. It physically wakes you up.
Exactly. That physical shock is a massive spike in sensory input.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. The brain's amygdala, which processes emotional and sensory stimuli, lights up and signals the hippocampus to encode the memory. By attaching the English words cold water to that visceral physical shock, the curriculum is using the temperature as a mnemonic hook.
So the physical sensation of cold becomes the glue that holds the vocabulary in place.
The language becomes multisensory. If the text just said water, it would be cognitively flat.
Just a boring noun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But cold water gives you a jolt. You are feeling the cold. You are tasting the mint of the toothpaste when you brush twice a day. You are experiencing the tactile sensation of feeling fresh after a shower. The curriculum is recruiting every single sense to help lock the English language into your long-term memory.
Which sets us up perfectly for the transition from the bathroom to the kitchen. The sensory input is about to change completely as we move into the breakfast sequence.
The smells and tastes come in.
Exactly. The core actions here are boil the kettle, with the example sentence. I boil the kettle to make some hot tea, then toast the bread with the sentence, I toast the bread until it is crunchy.
That's a great one.
And finally, fry an egg with the example, I fry an egg for my breakfast every day. Repeat 3x.
Let's focus on the vocabulary leap happening in this kitchen phase. What word in those sentences catches your attention?
Oh, it has to be the word crunchy.
It is a phenomenal inclusion for an absolute beginner.
It really is, because it feels so specific. Learning basic functional verbs like boil, toast, and fry is like sketching the rough outline of a picture. You are just trying to survive the morning.
Right.
But learning a highly descriptive adjective like crunchy changes the entire experience. It's like taking that black and white sketch and suddenly flooding it with color. It elevates the beginner from merely describing what they are doing to actually articulating the texture of their reality.
It moves them from survival language to experiential language, and it proves that a beginner curriculum doesn't have to be devoid of flavor or nuance.
Absolutely.
But there is also a major grammatical mechanism being installed in this breakfast sequence. Look at the sentence about the kettle again.
Okay, let's see. I boil the kettle to make some hot tea.
The structure there is verb plus to plus verb. Boil to make. In linguistics, we call this the infinitive of purpose.
Okay, break that down for me. Why does the infinitive of purpose matter for someone who just wants to learn enough English to get by?
Because it represents a massive philosophical shift in how the learner interacts with the world through language. Before this, the actions were mostly reactive or routine.
Like, I turn off the alarm, I wash my face.
Right. But the infinitive of purpose connects an action to an intention. I am doing X in order to achieve Y. It introduces human agency.
Wow. So you aren't just a robot executing a morning routine. You are a person with desires and goals, making choices to fulfill them.
Precisely. You are manipulating your environment, boiling a kettle to manifest a specific outcome, making hot tea.
That's empowering.
It is. This grammatical structure is a foundational pillar of fluency. Once you understand how to express intention, you can navigate almost any situation. I went to the store to buy milk. I called you to ask a question.
The beginner is learning how to articulate their agency, even if right now their only goal is a hot cup of tea.
Exactly.
When you lay it all out like that, it's actually staggering. By the time our absolute beginner has simply woken up, washed their face, and eaten a piece of crunchy toast, they haven't just memorized a list of random house words.
Not at all.
They have learned cause and effect, temporal sequencing, frequency, multisensory integration, and how to express human intention. That is a massive amount of cognitive and linguistic infrastructure hidden inside the most mundane morning routine imaginable.
Which is exactly why this methodology works. The routine is so deeply ingrained, so automatic, that the brain doesn't have to spend any energy figuring out what is happening.
Right.
It can dedicate 100% of its processing power to the new language describing what is happening. The physical routine acts as a scaffold.
So the scaffolding is built, the learner is fed, caffeinated, and ready. But now the environment is about to radically change. We have to leave the sanctuary of the house.
The psychological stakes are about to get much higher.
They really are. Let's follow the learner out the door. The curriculum shifts into its second major phase: motion, commuting, and the professional sphere. Or, as Leo the guide calls it, on the move.
We are leaving the private sphere and entering the public arena.
And you can feel the entire vocabulary palette shift immediately. We move away from personal hygiene and food and pivot hard into logistics, environment, and technology.
Notice the shift in the emotional tone of the language as the learner prepares to cross the threshold of their front door.
Yeah.
Inside the house, the language was largely observational and safe. I toast the bread. I wash my face. But as we prepare to enter the outside world, the language becomes deeply anticipatory and protective.
You can see it in the core actions for preparing to leave. First, check the weather. The example is I check the weather to see if I need an umbrella.
Right.
Second,
Okay.
grab my keys. Example, I always grab my keys before I leave the house. And third, which feels very different, lock the door. The example sentence here is a direct command. Don't forget to lock the door when you go out.
This sequence raises a brilliant point about what kind of language beginners actually need to survive.
Yeah.
If you open a standard textbook, the first chapters are usually filled with polite inquiries. Excuse me, where is the train station?
Classic textbook stuff.
Yeah. But this curriculum recognizes that before you can ask for directions, you have to successfully navigate your own departure. It focuses heavily on high-stakes, anxiety-reducing vocabulary.
Because forgetting your keys or stepping out into a downpour without an umbrella or leaving your front door unlocked, these are universal human frustrations.
They absolutely are.
They will ruin your day, spike your cortisol, and cause massive stress regardless of what language you speak or where you live.
Exactly. The curriculum is tying the new language to risk mitigation and problem solving. Checking the weather to see if I need an umbrella. It is teaching the beginner how to use English as a tool for self-preservation.
That makes total sense.
And that sentence about the door, don't forget to lock the door, introduces a vital grammatical form, the imperative mood.
Okay, I know the imperative mood implies a command, but how is it functioning here for a solo learner? They aren't barking orders at someone else.
They are learning how to issue a command to themselves.
Oh, wow.
The imperative mood strips away the subject. It's not, I lock the door. The verb takes the absolute front seat. Lock the door. Don't forget. It functions as an internal monologue, a warning system.
That's fascinating.
The beginner is training their inner voice to speak English in order to protect them from making a mistake that could compromise their security. It shifts the dynamic of the language from mere description to active self-regulation.
I love the idea of teaching your inner monologue to protect you in a new language.
Okay.
So we have checked the weather, the keys are in our pocket, the door is locked, we step out into the street.
Into the chaos.
Yes, the sensory input explodes, the noise, the people, the traffic. We enter the commute,
The chaotic transitional space between home and work.
and the actions Leo focuses on here are incredibly modern and specific to urban navigation. The first is wait for the bus, with the sentence, I wait for the bus at the bus stop. Simple enough.
Yep.
But the second action is swipe my card. With the example, I swipe my card to pay for the subway. And the third action is listen to a podcast. With the example sentence, I listen to a podcast to learn English on the train.
Let's pause on that third action because it is doing something very unique.
It is the ultimate meta moment of the entire curriculum.
It really is.
The example sentence literally has the learner saying out loud, I listen to a podcast to learn English on the train. The curriculum is winking at them. It is highly likely that the beginner is actually sitting on a train listening to this exact audio lesson through their headphones right at the exact second.
It breaks the fourth wall of education.
It totally does.
But beyond being clever, it is highly strategic from a psychological standpoint. When learning a language, motivation is the hardest thing to maintain.
Oh, absolutely.
You constantly wonder, is this working? Am I making progress? By acknowledging the exact context in which the learner is likely engaging with the material commuting, listening to audio to learn English, it deeply validates their effort. It makes the language feel hyper-relevant.
It anchors their reality. They can look around the train carriage, point to their headphones, and say, I am literally doing the thing the sentence says I am doing. The gap between the classroom and the real world disappears completely.
Exactly.
But I want to back up to the second commute action. Swipe my card. The source text puts a massive emphasis on this word. Leo stops the momentum of the lesson to conduct a specific spelling drill. S-W-I-P-E.
Yes.
Why single out the word swipe for a spelling drill when you have absolute beginners? Like, why not bus or train?
Because swipe is arguably the quintessential kinetic verb of the 21st century urban experience.
Okay.
Think about the evolution of the human hand's relationship with technology. 30 years ago, a beginner's commute curriculum would have taught phrases like insert your ticket, drop the coin in the slot, or hand the money to the driver.
Right. The physical mechanics of navigating a city have completely changed.
The vocabulary of public life has to adapt to physical reality. Today, our urban navigation relies entirely on the swiping motion. We swipe transit cards at the turnstile, we swipe credit cards at the coffee shop, we swipe the screens of our smartphones hundreds of times a day.
That's so true.
It is an essential, ubiquitous, modern action.
So why this spelling drill? S-W-I-P-E.
Well, spelling drills engage the visual spatial sketchpad in the brain.
Okay, the what?
It's the part of your working memory that processes visual information. When you spell a word out loud, you are forced to visualize the letters in your mind's eye.
Oh, I see.
By taking a crucial physical action, like swiping and forcing the learner to visualize its spelling, the curriculum ensures that the learner can both physically perform the action and visually recognize the word on instructions, signs, or digital screens. It proves that this curriculum is rooted in contemporary survival.
It is equipping them for the world as it exists right now, not the world of a 1990s textbook. So we have waited for the bus, we have successfully swiped our way through the transit system, and we arrive at our destination. We move into the workspace.
The professional sphere. The cognitive load shifts from physical navigation to social and intellectual navigation.
The core details for entering the workspace are clear. First, check the calendar. With the example, I check the calendar to see my meetings for the day.
Right.
Second, type on the keyboard. With the example, I type on the keyboard to write my reports. And third, collaborate with colleagues. With the sentence, I collaborate with colleagues to finish the project.
We really need to acknowledge the massive leap in vocabulary complexity that just occurred.
It is huge. Think about the trajectory of the morning. We started the day with fry an egg and yawn. Now, by 9:00 a.m., the curriculum is throwing the word collaborate at an absolute beginner.
Collaborate.
It's a big word. It's a big four-syllable abstract word derived from Latin roots. Is a word like that just too advanced, too heavy for someone who is still mastering, I brush my teeth?
It is a totally valid challenge. If we were following traditional linguistic sequencing, a word like collaborate would be gated off.
Locked behind a paywall of grammar.
Exactly. It would be reserved for an intermediate or advanced business English module 6 months down the line. But if we view this through the lens of functional real-world survival, collaborate is a foundational concept.
But how does that work in practice? If they don't have the grammar to actually negotiate a contract, why teach them the word collaborate?
Because it defines the fundamental nature of modern work. Very few of us are sitting in isolated rooms making widgets by ourselves anymore.
True.
We are constantly interacting, negotiating, and working in teams. Look at how the curriculum structures this sequence. It brilliantly mirrors the psychological reality of a workday. It begins with solo preparatory tasks.
I check my calendar, I type on my keyboard.
Yeah.
Things you do at your own desk, in your own bubble.
Exactly, the solo tasks. But eventually, inevitably, the bubble bursts and you have to engage in a team task. You have to collaborate.
You have to talk to people.
Right. By teaching this word early, the curriculum equips the beginner with the vocabulary needed to justify their presence in a corporate or team environment. You are right. They may not yet have the fluency to conduct a complex, nuanced debate in an English board meeting.
But they know what they are doing there.
Yes. They have the language to articulate the core purpose of their job. I am here to collaborate with colleagues to finish the project.
I see what you mean. It provides a kind of professional dignity through language. It treats the learner with respect, assuming they have a complex, interactive professional life, rather than just teaching them how to ask where the office restroom is or, like, how to order a pencil from the supply closet.
Yes, exactly.
It gives them the headline of their job.
It validates their professional identity in the new language.
Okay, so the workday is conquered. We checked the calendar, we typed the reports, we collaborated, we finished the project. The adrenaline of the public sphere has peaked, which brings us to the inevitable come down.
The rhythm of the day slows. The high-stakes environment dissolves.
We transition into the third and final part of the curriculum, decompression and reflection, or winding down. The work is done, the commute is reversed, and the learner is back inside the private sanctuary of their home.
Safe again.
Exactly. The text now shifts to guide the learner on how to express transitioning from high-energy corporate output back to a state of domestic rest. The vocabulary palette changes completely yet again, pivoting toward maintenance, care, and chores.
The domestic sphere reasserts its dominance over the learner's attention.
Phase 1 of the evening is focused on evening chores. The core details are: buy groceries, with the example, I buy groceries at the supermarket after work. Next is cook dinner, example.
Yep.
I cook dinner for my family every evening.
Right.
Then wash the dishes, example, wash the dishes right after eating. And finally, take out the trash with the sentence, I take out the trash every Tuesday and Friday.
The return to the mundane.
Okay, I have to be brutally honest here.
Yeah.
Taking out the trash and scrubbing dirty plates are objectively the most boring, tedious parts of the human experience. As a beginner learning a new language, the memory space in my brain is prime real estate. It is incredibly valuable.
Sure.
Why on earth should I waste that mental bandwidth learning how to talk about garbage disposal? Shouldn't a curriculum be teaching me how to order a fancy cocktail at a bar or how to talk about my passions and hobbies? Why the trash?
It is the most common objection beginners have. They want to learn the language of vacations, romance, and excitement.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
But the reality of fluency is that it lives in the mundane. The spectacular events, the fancy cocktails, the dramatic arguments are rare. The mundane is daily. You will take out the trash thousands of times in your life.
That's a depressing thought, but true.
But beyond the practicality of the vocabulary, look at the underlying grammatical machinery. Those boring chore sentences are actually installing. They are teaching incredibly precise temporal logic.
Let me look at the time markers in those examples again. We have after work, every evening, right after eating, and every Tuesday and Friday.
Let's focus on every Tuesday and Friday. It isn't just a sentence about domestic waste. It is teaching the beginner how to articulate specific, recurring weekly schedules.
Oh, I see where this is going.
If a learner can confidently structure the sentence, I take out the trash every Tuesday and Friday, they suddenly possess the exact syntactic formula needed to say, I have a project sync every Tuesday and Friday, or my son has soccer practice every Tuesday and Friday, or I need to take my medication every Tuesday and Friday.
Oh, the trash is just a Trojan horse. Or maybe a better metaphor. It's like the curriculum is secretly installing the plumbing of the language while letting you think you were just picking out bathroom tiles.
I love that metaphor.
You think you're learning garbage vocabulary, but you are actually downloading the master formula for recurring scheduling.
Precisely. And look at the dishwashing example, right after eating. It doesn't just say after.
Yeah.
It introduces the modifier, right?
Right after.
This teaches immediacy. It is fine-tuning the timeline, allowing the beginner to express not just sequence, but urgency and proximity in time. These boring chores are actually sophisticated temporal training grounds.
Because the actions are so boring and automatic, your brain doesn't have to work to understand the concept of dishes or trash, so it can devote all its energy to mastering the complex scheduling grammar.
Exactly.
That is brilliant. Okay, the chores are finally done, the trash is out, the dishes are clean. We move into the relaxation ritual.
The focus shifts entirely from maintenance to internal restoration and emotional decompression.
The actions Leo outlines here are genuinely lovely. First, water the plants. With the example, I water the plants to keep them healthy.
That's nice.
Second,
Yeah.
read a book. With the example, I read a book for 30 minutes before bed. And third, chat with friends. With the sentence, I chat with friends on my phone in the evening.
There is profound linguistic nuance hidden in this relaxation phase. We are seeing a new emotional register being introduced. Yes. Look at the reasoning provided for watering the plants, to keep them healthy. Up until this point, most of the actions have been transactional or self-serving. I eat to survive, I wash to feel fresh, I collaborate to finish a project.
Right, very functional.
But to keep them healthy introduces the vocabulary of empathy, nurturing, and care for another living thing.
It softens the language. It allows the learner to express a gentle emotional state, which is a huge part of human communication.
Exactly. And notice the stark contrast between the phrase chat with friends in this evening module and the phrase collaborate with colleagues from the morning module.
Oh, yeah.
Both verbs essentially describe the same physical action, talking to other humans, but the curriculum is subtly teaching the beginner a crucial sociolinguistic lesson.
It is teaching them how the English language distinguishes between professional, goal-oriented communication collaboration and personal, open-ended, unstructured communication chatting.
Right. You wouldn't call your mother and say, I would like to collaborate with you for 20 minutes.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
And you wouldn't tell your boss, I am going to chat with the accounting department to finalize the quarterly tax audit.
I mean, you could, but you would sound like a sociopath in the first instance and wildly unprofessional in the second. The choice of verb dictates the entire social context. And the reading example provides another essential structural tool. I read a book for 30 minutes.
It provides the template for expressing duration. We've learned frequency with twice a day, sequencing with after brushing, recurring schedules with every Tuesday, and now duration for 30 minutes.
It's like a math equation.
It is a mathematical unit of time that can be mapped onto anything. I waited for the train for 30 minutes. I exercised for 30 minutes.
It really is giving them all the structural Lego bricks they need to build complex stories, completely disguised as a cozy, relaxing evening routine.
It's masterful.
Which brings us to the final moments of the day, the final moments of consciousness, preparing for sleep.
The cycle completes itself. The cognitive load powers down.
The final 3 core details are so simple, yet functionally essential. First, charge my phone. The example sentence is, I charge my phone overnight so it's ready for tomorrow.
Crucial for modern life.
Definitely. Second, turn off the lights. With the example, I turn off the lights before I get into bed. And the final action of the entire curriculum, fall asleep. The sentence is, I usually fall asleep very quickly. Good night. And of course, the final instruction. Repeat 3x.
Look at the beautiful, almost poetic narrative symmetry of this entire curriculum. Think about exactly where we started this journey.
We started in the dark. The very first action was turning off the alarm. And the very last physical action of the day is turning off the lights.
We started the day with the body waking up, stretching out, and expanding to face the demands of the external world. We end the day by retreating from the world, shrinking our focus back down to the bed and falling asleep. It provides the learner with absolute psychological closure.
It is a perfect enclosed circle. But before we close it, I want to zero in on that sentence about charging the phone. I charge my phone overnight so it's ready for tomorrow. For a module designed for absolute beginners, ending on the word tomorrow feels incredibly poignant to me.
Because it represents a massive shift in temporal orientation.
How so?
Throughout this entire day, from the washroom to the commute to the office to the kitchen, the language has been deeply rooted in the immediate present or the immediate past. I am doing this now. I do this after that.
Right.
But here, in the very final moments of the day, the curriculum demands that the beginner look forward.
So it's ready for tomorrow.
It introduces the concept of anticipation. The beginner is learning how to express preparation for the future. It leaves them with a profound sense of continuity. The day is ending, the lights are going out, but the cycle will begin again.
Wow.
And the curriculum is implicitly telling the learner, you will be ready for it. You will be prepared physically with a fully charged phone, and you will be prepared linguistically with the vocabulary to narrate the next day.
So as we step back and look at this massive architectural blueprint of a day, what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now? Let's synthesize this journey.
Let's do it.
This Vibe English curriculum, meticulously designed for those absolute beginners, proves something incredibly powerful about how the human brain acquires knowledge. It proves that the absolute worst way to learn a new language is to sit in a sterile room, staring at abstract grammar charts, trying to memorize phrases for situations you aren't currently experiencing.
It's just fighting against your own biology.
Exactly. The best way, the most neurologically efficient way, is to actively, aggressively narrate your own ongoing life.
You have to embody the knowledge. By utilizing that rigid repeat 3x rule, saying the words out loud while physically performing the actions, whether that is the visceral shock of splashing cold water on your face, the kinetic reality of swiping a transit card, or the dull routine of tying up a trash bag, the learner physically embodies the English language.
You intertwine the new, fragile vocabulary with deep, unbreakable physical habits.
Exactly. You aren't just reading the grammar, you are moving through the grammar. You are tasting the vocabulary.
And here is the real takeaway. Even if you are an advanced English speaker, or even if you aren't trying to learn a language at all right now, this underlying principle is a master key for acquiring any new skill.
Oh, absolutely.
Linking new, highly complex information to existing, deeply automatic daily habits is the ultimate form of habit stacking.
If you can anchor the unknown to the known mapping, the abstract linguistic concept of cause and effect onto a biological yawn, or mapping temporal logic onto washing the dishes, your brain absorbs the new information with a fraction of the resistance.
It's so efficient.
It is. You don't have to carve out 2 agonizing hours of study time at a desk if you realize that your entire day, your every movement is already a classroom.
Which brings us all the way back to that blank, terrifying landscape we talked about at the very beginning of this deep
The
dive.
silent room.
Yes, that feeling of waking up, needing to learn a massive new skill, and feeling like you don't have the instruction manual. What this source material beautifully reveals is that your life, exactly as you live it right now, is the instruction manual.
The scaffolding was there all along.
You already know how to live. You just have to start attaching the new data to the architecture of your own existence.
The structure is your own routine. You just have to activate it.
So we want to leave you with a challenge, a final provocative thought to mull over as you transition through the rest of your day-to-day.
A little homework.
Exactly. Tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off, what if you didn't just blindly reach for your phone to check your email or scroll through the news?
What if you didn't immediately check out?
Right. What if, in whatever language you were trying to master or whatever new cognitive framework you were trying to internalize, you deliberately narrated your own physical life as it happened?
What if you intentionally connected the physical action of your body to the new concept you are trying to wire into your brain?
Think about your own commute. Think about your own kitchen. Could the absolute most mundane, invisible parts of your daily routine, the shock of the cold water on your skin, the click of the kettle boiling, the heavy squeak of your shoes as you lock your front door, could those seemingly boring moments actually be the ultimate untapped laboratory for learning something entirely new?
They absolutely could.
The laboratory's already built. You just have to turn on the lights. Think about it. Until next time.